Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Jim. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. A German source is reporting that Giga Berlin is set to resume production on February 12th. This, according to the plant manager, Andre Thierig, and the original pause was due to those attacks in the Red Sea. Andre said the supply chains are intact again. Tesla has the necessary security that all necessary production parts are available in sufficient quantities to be able to fully restart. Perhaps more importantly, he said Giga Berlin now has 12,500 employees, and he did confirm they hit that 6,000 units produced in 1 week number. You may recall toward the end of last year, the last update we got on Giga Berlin in terms of employment, they were stuck around 10,000, and there have been a lot of reports that Tesla was having challenges getting to their 12 to 12.5 thousand employee target. In November last year, around the time that Elon visited Giga Berlin, they did end up announcing a 4% raise for all workers at Giga Berlin. There was also chatter that effective February of this year, all production workers would get an additional salary raise of a few €1,000. It's great to see Tesla finally hitting their employment target for this phase of production, and as far as we can tell, doing everything they can to keep fighting off any unionization efforts at Giga Berlin. Andre said the temporary production stop will not set Tesla back as the factory continues to ramp up. Tesla continues to push ahead with an expansion at Giga Berlin. Specifically, they were talking about logistics capacities and a freight station. It would be the first Tesla factory in the world in which transport logistics would be largely shifted to rail away from predominantly trucking. The Tesla supply chains are already quite robust, but that's not enough, according to Andre. We live in changing times. One look at the evening news is enough. All it takes is a strike and the highways are blocked. This confusing headline is actually a good thing for Tesla. It's just the Ministry of Infrastructure saying that if Tesla's application for factory approval is not approved, then other infrastructure build-outs are going to be delayed. As Tesla awaits the approval of its application for expansion at Giga Berlin, the ministry is warning of a significant burden on the region. If a development plan is not defined, it could significantly slow infrastructure development in the region and prevent the transition of trucks to rail transport. Tesla's expansion includes the construction of a freight station, warehouses, and a kindergarten in Grünheide on the land next to the factory. Implementing this plan means freight transportation would be facilitated and the impact of trucks on the environment and traffic on nearby roads would be significantly reduced. Tesla says at least 1,000 trucks will be off the road when the freight station is built. Tesla hopes all measures can be completed by 2026. I suppose this should come as no surprise, but the ministry did warn of a potential 4-year delay, meaning these projects would not be possible until then 2030. We'll hope for the former. There's been plenty of chatter lately about Tesla and Elon not delivering on many different projects. Well, what about all of the ones they have delivered on?
This is where Trip Planner comes in. Trip Planner is our in-vehicle routing or navigation system. Other electric vehicle manufacturers, well, some of them have vehicle-side data. Other infrastructure providers have site data. But at Tesla, we have both. And what that allows us to do is to use Trip Planner to route vehicles towards available sites and away from congested sites so we can balance our utilization without risking wait time. And the results speak for themselves. Over the last few years, we've been able to drive up site utilization by 30%. That means lower per kilowatt hour cost, while also cutting our wait time in half. And we think this can get even better. Today, we're feeding Trip Planner with real-time site information and information about vehicles currently at sites. Going forward, we'll be moving that to projecting site occupancy based on the understanding of what vehicles are currently routing to those sites. And ultimately, our vision for Trip Planner is that it's the air traffic controller for electric vehicle charging across all infrastructure on a global basis.
That's important. Tesla's plan for the future is to make Trip Planner the air traffic controller for all EV charging infrastructure, not just for superchargers. That leads us to today, where Zach shared a new screenshot of a Tesla now predicting how many stalls will be available upon arrival with how many cars are en route. Check it out, 41 stalls available on arrival, 3 cars en route, 62 stalls total at the station. That is really nice, and I know we're about to have a lot of non-Tesla vehicles begin using the supercharger network, so you would think that the cars en route may be less and less predictable, but I'm sure Tesla is working on a way to actually integrate those other non-Tesla vehicles into this system. Obviously, if a Tesla or non-Tesla just goes to a supercharger without navigating to it, it's not going to be able to have an accurate number for cars en route, but the real-time number of available stalls alone is a major W. I know some of you may have already had this feature now for a little bit, but wanted to make sure everybody was aware. Holmar shared a video that Tesla is still doing these little custom delivery events for Cybertruck owners where they have some smoke and the light show and music playing and some of the employees actually congratulating the new owners. Also on this recent delivery, you'll notice still no aero wheel covers. I'm assuming they're still working on that solution. Gordon Johnson is somewhere sipping champagne, celebrating Tesla selling one car in Korea in January. Put that drink down, GoJo. The government has yet to announce a new EV subsidy rule for the year. The new law will likely go into effect as early as February. In 2023 alone, 13.8 thousand Shanghai-made Model Ys were sold in Korea, making it the country's #1 imported EV in sales. Don't forget, the Model Y only launched in Korea in July of last year, and first deliveries were around August. For January this year, across all car makers, the number of new EVs registered in Korea fell 80% from December. Korea is trying to limit EV subsidies from cars coming from China, so we'll see what they come up with, but people are just waiting to see what the ruling will be. As we talked about, Tesla recently hired a new country manager for Mexico, and a few weeks later, we have some new job openings for Mexico, mostly in sales, service, and deliveries. Only one of these 9 new jobs are in Monterrey, which is indeed in the northern part of Nuevo Leon. Tesla is building out the base for the brand in Mexico. It's not every day you see a deal of this size. LG Chem signed an $18.6 billion deal to supply EV battery materials to GM over the course of 10 years. LG will supply at least 500,000 tons of cathode materials, enough to make batteries for 5 million EVs. These cathode active materials will be made in LG's Tennessee factory, which is under construction from 2026. For context, LG said the deal price is about half the company's 2022 revenue. Honestly, my first thought is, what is GM doing? They don't have any proven track record that they're going to have this level of EV demand for the next decade. You like to see GM thinking EV long term, of course, but either way, LG completed construction of its Tennessee plant in December. It has an annual production capacity of 60,000 tons, making it the biggest plant like that in the United States. Most of the supplies it produces will be used by Ultium Cells. Simple math, if this production capacity stays steady over the next decade, that would only be 600,000 tons cumulatively produced, of which 500,000 go to GM. Bloomberg, specifically Dana Hall, noted Tesla critic, is reporting that Tesla staff are bracing for potential job cuts after managers were asked to affirm whether each of their employees' positions is critical. According to people familiar with the matter, U.S. managers had to make the binary assessment of their deputies' roles in recent days. Tesla sent out the single-line query for each job after canceling some employees' biannual performance reviews. To be clear, this report does not by any stretch guarantee that layoffs are coming. Even if they do though, historically Tesla has liked to trim the fat roughly every year or so. They hire pretty quickly and then see who's working, what the productivity is like, and trim the lower performers. Last year, Tesla put out a blog post about a specific layoff event at Giga New York. They said Tesla conducts performance review cycles every 6 months. Employees receive a performance rating from 1 to 5 in each cycle that helps them calibrate their work with the expectations of their job. In the worst case, if an employee fails to meet their performance expectations, they'll be let go. This review process takes place globally. I'd also remind us all of summer 2022 if you weren't around the channel at that point, when Elon said he wanted to cut 10% of Tesla's salaried workforce. That's how the media was framing it, conveniently leaving out that Tesla was also looking to increase the number of hourly workers. Then, just a few months later, we heard that Tesla was scaling up its hiring efforts after some layoffs and that hiring freeze. Things change quickly. We'll see what happens with this one. It's always unfortunate to see layoffs, but it's also a necessary part of successful capitalism. I found this chart from Auto Trader that covers the European market. I just wanted to highlight when it comes to used EV sales, a lot of people have been talking about Tesla's used prices collapsing. Well, looking around the industry, it's not really out of the ordinary. Relative to the Model Y, the Audi e-tron, the Hyundai Ioniq, the Renault Zoe, and the Mercedes EQS have all seen larger year-over-year used price declines. This data was from January this year. I just wanted to show everybody that it's not just Tesla. It's been almost 2 years now since we've talked about Joe Justice and Tesla's agile manufacturing more in depth on the channel. Of course, there's a lot of new people here, and just yesterday, Joe Justice put out a new talk going over some of the detail and innovation that makes Tesla Tesla that nobody else really ever reports on because he used to work at Tesla. I'm not going to do a deep dive on Tesla's agile manufacturing in this video, but I do want to play a few quick clips, and if you're not familiar with this system, I would encourage you to watch the full video. I'll have it below.
The software stacks, when I worked there in 2020, were all independent. If we were working on the seating team, we would have a seating AI that would give suggestions on how to make better seats, manufacture them lighter, cheaper, last longer, more comfortable. There's an AI theory of seat comfort that runs continuously. And it was a separate AI stack that you'd ask questions about how to make a better motor. Since I retired from Tesla in 2020, Tesla has put all of these AIs together. It's called Tesla One. And this is actually the most valuable part of the company, and I don't think most people understand that. The digital backbone of Tesla, the actual value of any Musk company, is actually its digital process to design the manufacturing system in less than 12-hour chunks. It's very well assisted. We couldn't ask Google Bard or ChatGPT to draw a more efficient electric motor than any human has ever made. They're not that good yet. But you can ask the Tesla AI that. Why? There's 5 million Teslas on the road right now, and they all send real-time data back to train Tesla's AI. Which part of the motors are hot? Which part of the motors wear out and when? How much electricity are they drawing and how much power comes out? What's their efficiency and their efficiency over time? That training data is overlapping with the CAD model of every motor Tesla has ever made. That is the data set you want for an AI that you ask, please draw me a more efficient motor than humans have ever made. And the Tesla AI can. It will draw it for you. But it won't only draw the motor for you, it will also tell you the manufacturing steps and the manufacturing tools, which is what you really want. The reason why is because every factory layout, which changes multiple times a day, its 3D model is part of the training set for Tesla's AIs. Tesla's software has another very important job. This is a Model Y, the small SUV, while it's being built. You might be able to read it on the screen here. It says factory mode. This is the same software stack. This is part of Tesla One. What it's doing is it's integration testing these parts as the car's assembled. Every car does this as it's assembled. It's going through the API. Can I turn the steering rack left and right? While I do it, does any part of it get hot? How hot? How much electricity does it take to turn left and right? This is likely the very first time these parts have been connected because the parts are changing every day, right? There's around 10,000 parts in a car. They're all trying to change every day. So that makes almost every car unique. What Tesla does is they keep a full CAD model of every car. There's 5 million cars, each one is 10,000 parts. That's actually not a very unreasonable number for a technology company. Every car, all parts, there's a full model because they are all potentially unique. And what Tesla One does is it puts every car in simulation through all road legal government approval tests. And each car has its own digital document, its own PDF, to request government certification for that car. Not every car needs to apply for certification. And for the ones that do, that car already has its certification application ready. Most companies create a certification test every 2.5 to 7 years per car because it's expensive. Well, software, in Agile software, most of us found if we had a big, difficult testing cycle at the end, what was better is to have constant testing that never stopped. Google, Amazon, X, formerly Twitter, all run more than 1 million automated tests every second. Of course, so does Tesla. And it runs on the cars. When all teams are trying to make each part cost a penny less every day, over 4 years, the total cost of the car goes down 30%. This is actual number. Most companies are just trying to keep the cost from going up too fast. In the Musk companies, the cost actually collapses. As most companies in hardware introduce changes every 2.5 years, 5 years, 7 years, you can actually see these numbers getting better every day.
How does Tesla drive down its cost of goods sold by about 2% every quarter, quarter after quarter after quarter? There's your answer. And even if Tesla runs into a bit of a slowdown, reaches that lower limit of COGS reductions, once they get to the next gen platform, I'm very confident it's going to make up for any slowdown we experience in the next 24 months. Tesla One, don't sleep on it. Hertz just reported Q4 earnings, and their CEO said they're looking at $250 million in cuts that could include layoffs and closures. He said the company clearly took on more EV exposure than where the market otherwise took us. He did reiterate that long-term EVs will be the direction of travel, but for now, not all consumers are ready to make the switch. Whether Hertz sells more Tesla vehicles next year and buys new EVs will depend on demand both at the rental counter and in the vehicle market. He also said we continue to experience elevated collision and damage in the quarter, largely driven by costs associated with running our EV fleet, and perhaps more significantly, the challenge of the EVs had an impact on our operational efficiency more generally. Further reductions to the company's EV fleet, which would stand around 40,000 once all of the Tesla sales are completed, could be in the cards if necessary. I think the lesson of this, if you will, is that incremental steps to wrestle down the cost elements of the EVs were not going to work. As a consequence, as evident in the fourth quarter, the need to take a big bite out of this issue was one that was in front of us, and we took it. If that's not enough, we'll do more. We talked about Model Y price cuts for the RWD and LR versions. Now the Performance is added to that list, down $4,300, qualifying for some subsidy, so you Canadians, wanted you to be aware. I would, however, point out that checking Transport Canada right now, the Performance has not yet been added to the official list, but I'm guessing in the next day or two it will be added. Clean Energy Associates are predicting that battery energy storage prices in the United States will fall 18% throughout 2024. For context, battery storage with LFP cells at 3.7 megawatt hours and a 4-hour duration, delivered with duties paid from China to the US, will have nearly halved by the end of this year compared to the highs of 2022. Maybe most importantly though, Wood Mackenzie is saying this drive down in the price is mostly driven by significant competition by China-based suppliers in the US market. Surprisingly, the fall in lithium prices from the highs of 2022 is only a small factor according to the CEA. Speaking of battery storage, New Jersey is currently working on legislation for more BESS incentives. The Senate's Energy and Environment Committee voted in favor of the bill, but it's still going to have to pass both houses before it could be signed into law by the governor. We talked yesterday about how some of those Ford dealers in the U300 group were expecting some answers from Ford. Well, they did not get them, and the group is not happy. Ford executives offered few specifics on hot-button issues like EVs and quality improvements. The officials failed to take questions from the dealers, which is what they usually do. My read on this whole situation is that when it comes to the EV certification program that Ford has been requiring these dealers to go through, now that Ford is pulling back so much in terms of full electric vehicles, they really don't know how they're going to move forward, and they're ducking the questions. At the same time, Ford has decided to remove a feature from its vehicles, specifically automated parallel parking. This because real-time data shows that it's not a popular feature among its customers. It costs Ford about $60 per vehicle, so they could save roughly $10 million per year. This feature debuted more than a decade ago. And here we have it, Ford yet again pulling back even further on its full BEV plans. Ford is rethinking its EV strategies, including reassessing the need for in-house production of batteries, according to Jim Farley. He said, "One of the things we're taking advantage of in taking some timing delays is rationalizing the level and timing of our battery capacity to match demand, and actually reassessing the vertical integration that we're relying on and betting on new chemistries and capacities." Farley reiterated the company still believes EVs will grow, but noted widespread adoption for mass market consumers won't happen until the costs are more in line with traditional vehicles. We all know what the problem is with this. Ford's costs for electric vehicles won't come down if they don't work toward producing them at scale. Their CFO said Ford is further looking into adjusting installed production capacity to match demand and potentially delaying next-gen EVs to ensure they meet our criteria for profitability given the new market reality. The CFO said the Model E division will have to stand on its own sooner rather than later. He also said the company is pulling a target for its EV unit that called for 8% margin by 2026. As Ford continues to pull back and reevaluate its EV plans, it intends to lean in on sales of hybrid vehicles, specifically trucks. What have we been saying now for over a year? None of these current CEOs at these legacy OEMs wants to be the person in charge when their company starts hemorrhaging billions of dollars trying to sell electric vehicles. Personally, I have my doubts that Ford's next-gen EV platform that just got delayed would struggle to compete with Tesla's current-gen vehicles, the Model 3 and the Model Y. So what are they going to do when Tesla brings the next-gen platform to market? It's a gross oversimplification, but one of the ways I see it, whichever OEM can actually push through losing the most money trying to make EVs, taking the risks, trying new manufacturing techniques, figuring out what the market wants and it doesn't, that'll be the company that wins in the future EV world. Everybody pulling back and just waiting for some magic to happen, I really don't think it's going to end well. But also, as I've said before, that end isn't going to be in the next few years. It may not be for another 5 or even 10 years down the road because these companies still have successful ICE businesses. Those profits will erode with time as they lose economies of scale, but they're still making a significant amount of money. Farley said, "We learned as you scale EVs to 5,000, 7,000 units a month and you move into the early majority customer, they're not willing to pay a significant premium for EVs." He said, "All of our EV teams are ruthlessly focused on cost and efficiency in our EV products because the ultimate competition is going to be the affordable Tesla and the Chinese OEMs." If you've been waiting for a look at the exterior of the all-new, all-electric upcoming Porsche 718 Boxster that's coming in 2025, set to debut later this year, here you have it. Here's one more for you. I'll tell you right now, this section is not news, so skip ahead if you're not interested, but this did make me laugh. I thought it was really good, from Joa on X.
As the esteemed owner of 7 shares of Tesla and this hairline, my voice obviously carries weight. I'm not sure if the stock will ever again be as high as I am right now. So yes, the board needs a shakeup, and my third eye is telling me these are the changes needed. First, we need Tesla boomer mama. She'll crush ESG, manage the ETFs, and maybe even get more money from Tennessee. Whole Lars Blog, obviously, he's the mean factory to our digger factories. Next, Gary Black to replace Kimball Musk. Just kidding. Then Sawyer Merritt, as he's the only guy in the Tesla space better looking than me. Dirty Tesla first product testing, At this rate, he'll get a board seat before a Cybertruck. And finally, maybe that cat. We'll have him manage the Google ads, so we'll shut up about advertising. Sully, I don't know why you keep bringing me on here. I just want to say that I love you and love everything.
Can we get a wellness check on Ross, please?
Tesla stock closed the day at $187.58, up 1.34% on the day, compared to the NASDAQ, up 0.95%. It was a normal volume day for Tesla stock, trading right in line with the 30-day average volume. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. You can find me on X, linked below. Please like the video if you did, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.